So we're going to talk today all about aging. And so this is a topic that has come up for me recently because I turned 40 this year. So I have definitely been thinking about aging, thinking about what's going on in my body, what I can do to help myself along. And I have aging parents now too. And I know that that's true for a lot of people in my particular age group. So we have kids to take care of, and those certainly are aging me and giving me gray hairs. And I also have my parents to think of. And the older I get, as I hit 40, I started to think about, wow, where my parents are actually isn't that long from where I am. My parents are in their mid 60s. And after you've gone through 40 years on the planet, the 60s doesn't seem that far away. So you start to realize how short time is and how much, for me personally, I want to take care of my body and make sure that I'm aging gracefully and not running into problems as I get into my 50s, 60s, hopefully 70s, 80s, 90s. My children are convinced that I'm going to live to be at least 100. So I'm just going to go with that. And hopefully that's how long I'm going to be on this planet. Okay, so who am I? I'm Christine McCarroll. I am a functional nutritionist, and I specialize in women's hormones and digestion. And I also, what I've been trying to say to people lately is that I'm a women's health straight talker. So I think, we get a lot of noise. We get a lot of mixed messages. There's just a lot of shit around about what we're supposed to be doing, how things are supposed to be feeling. And I just want to cut through all of the crap and tell it like it is. So that's my mission, is to really help you understand what's going on, just really in a clear and easy to understand way. And I also recently put out an ebook called The Bitch Fix. So that is all about helping you to resolve hormonal imbalances. And I have a Facebook community called Holistic Hormone Balancing. So I'm all about helping you solve your health challenges and hormone imbalances naturally and without a bunch of drugs or chemicals, because those are things that actually do age us a lot quicker. All right, so let's get into just talking about aging. So what the heck is aging anyway? So our bodies age in response to levels of oxidative stress. And so, the more science has studied this, and honestly, obviously I'm not the only one who cares about aging, because there's been a lot of science about aging. And some of it's related to like drugs and beauty products, and some of it is just straight science. And so one of the things that has been identified as a big contributor to the aging process is this oxidative stress. And so what the heck is oxidative stress? And you might have even heard of antioxidants, like in commercials for different vitamins and things like that. So oxidative stress is essentially an imbalance between our body's ability to detoxify harmful effects versus the production of free radicals. So, basically, can we handle the oxidative stress that's coming our way? We're going to talk about, kind of where does that oxidative stress come from, and then what can you do about it today? So free radicals are highly reactive molecules, and they interact with things like our DNA. So our DNA is essentially the code. It's like the computer code of our bodies that tells us how we're going to be, what we're going to present in the world. So your genetics is partly, how you look, what traits you got from mom and dad, but also, how fast you age, if you're predisposed to certain medical conditions, all of that stuff. It's all programmed into our DNA. But the really fascinating thing, and this is just what totally gets me going in the morning, is that we actually have the ability to impact our DNA. So we get this blueprint, we get this DNA blueprint from our parents, and it says, okay, here's how things are probably gonna look. But we have this whole ability to actually change and turn off and on components of that blueprint. So it's called epigenetics. It's a whole fascinating field of science that I just love. And essentially it says that we have the power. So we get the blueprint, but that doesn't mean that that's exactly how it's going to be. And so the way that we live our lives, things that we put in and on our bodies, including putting in stress and to-do lists and all of the rest of that, those are absolutely things that will give our DNA information about how it's going to be expressed. So one of the first things we're going to talk about is food, because antioxidants are present in a lot of food. So you've probably heard about supplements that have antioxidants. Obviously, those should be coming from food, and so food has them too. But I'm going to give you a top 5 of ways that we can slow down the aging process. We can send that message to our DNA that says, let's slow this down. Let's not go down that, aging and free radical train. Let's get this, at a slower, easier pace. So we're going to talk about 5 of the top things today. So the first of the top 5 is food. So we're going to first just talk really quickly about free radicals, what they are, and then how they can actually be impacted by what we eat and the information that we are giving our bodies from food. So first, just to tell you about what are free radicals. So free radicals are atoms or groups of atoms that have an odd number of electrons. That means they're actually missing an electron. So this is kind of hard to visualize, right? So the way that I like to explain it is, imagine you're in a room with a group of people, and there's someone leading the group and they say pair up. So everybody go get a partner. Maybe it's a dance partner, maybe it's somebody who you're going to do some work with, but they just say pair up. So everybody pairs up, and then here's you standing over by the door and the water cooler, and there's nobody to pair with, and you just like standing there by yourself. That's what a free radical is. It means there's an unpaired electron. So that's you. And what happens is when oxygen interacts with those free radicals, or when oxygen interacts with that, we get a free radical. So after that happens, those highly reactive radicals can start a chain reaction, and then they start to damage things. So they run around creating problems for the rest of your body. And they can particularly damage cellular components. They can actually impact the cell membrane, so the outside kind of coating of all your cells. And they can impact DNA. So oxidative damage and stress can absolutely damage your DNA. So that DNA being that central blueprint for what's going to happen, you can get damage from these free radicals. And excess free radicals in the body have been linked to a lot of chronic disease. And if you didn't know this, this is shocking. Chronic illness is actually the number one cost to our healthcare system. So if you think that it is, diseases like cancer or, things that are going to kill you right away, it's actually not the biggest cost to our healthcare system. It's chronic illness. And we are in this age of huge amounts of chronic illness. And so that's the biggest actual drain on our health society, and that's in our healthcare system. And, for me, then that's the thing to be most worried about. We don't want to be ending up with chronic illness later in life. That really impacts our quality of life. So some of the chronic illnesses that have been associated with excess free radicals are atherosclerosis, which is plaque in your blood vessels, Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, and then of course aging. So gradual accumulation or buildup of free radical damage, is what is going to be causing the problems. So what can happen is that over time, cells might function poorly, or they actually may just die off, which is the worst thing. We have our nice living cells, and then they just start to die off. So to prevent that from happening, our body has this system of antioxidants. So this is to stop that free radical damage. So we're going to talk about, so there's our free radicals, here's our antioxidants. So what are some ways that we can send a message to our DNA to stop that free radical damage? So the power of antioxidants is in the power of these specific foods. And there is a ton of information connecting these two systems. So our food and the antioxidants that are in our food and our aging. A huge amount of scientific literature that's published about this. So they're molecules that interact with and scavenge free radicals. So they interrupt that chain reaction that is causing damage. So instead of those free radicals just running around causing damage, they pair up and they say, hey, I've got this. I'm going to stop this damage from happening. So some of the first ones we're going to talk about. The first vitamin is vitamin E. But 2 other important ones are beta-carotene and vitamin C. And selenium is so those are the top 3. Selenium is a little bit of an outlier. It's a mineral, but it's also sometimes included in the category because it's required for proper function of the enzyme system that helps antioxidants to work. So we have like the antioxidants themselves, and then we have this peripheral enzyme system, and that supports that. So the body cannot manufacture those micronutrients, so we have to get them from food. And if we're not getting them from food, they're just not going to be coming into our body. So what can we eat to actually help us get these antioxidants? So let's talk about vitamin E first. So vitamin E is a fat-soluble vitamin. So we actually have 5 fat-soluble vitamins, four. A, D, E, and K are our fat-soluble vitamins. And you get them in nuts and seeds, in vegetables, and in fish oils. So there are very few supplements that I recommend for almost everybody. I'm really into, every person needs their own specific things. But one thing that I think almost everybody can use is fish oil. And honestly, that's just because we don't eat enough fish. Even me, I know how important a fish is, and I actually even like fish. But I have 2 kids and only one of them will eat fish. And so we don't eat fish every single week in my house. So I try and get it in at least a couple times every 2 weeks. I'll pack it in my lunch, but honestly, I'm not getting as much fish as I should be. And so I take a fish oil supplement to make sure that I am getting that. So vitamin C is a water-soluble vitamin, and we can get vitamin C in citrus fruits, in juices. You want to be really careful with citrus juices because of the sugar load, and sugar is actually something that will age you fast. And I'm not going to talk a lot about sugar in this presentation. You're going to hear me talk about sugar all the time. But just be careful of just the citrus juice, because that sugar is going to undo all of the benefits you're getting from vitamin C. Different kinds of bell peppers, so green, orange, yellow bell peppers, red bell peppers, cabbage, spinach, broccoli, kale, and then some of our colorful fruits. So cantaloupe, kiwi, and strawberries are all high in vitamin C. So getting a really broad range of colorful vegetables is a good way to just make sure you're getting your antioxidants. And then the last one that I'm going to mention is beta carotene. So beta carotene is actually a precursor to vitamin A. And it's really important that you know this distinction. So especially if you're looking at like a nutritional supplement and you're reading the back of it, or for people who are vegetarian who maybe aren't getting vitamin A in their food. So beta carotene is needed in and of itself. Vitamin A is needed in and of itself. So they're actually 2 different things. So beta carotene can be converted in our bodies over to vitamin A, but it takes some work. And if something isn't working right in your body and that doesn't happen, then you might be eating all the beta carotene in the world, but you're not actually getting any vitamin A. So this is why you're not actually getting vitamin A from carrots, for example. You're actually just getting the beta carotene, which is great. It's an antioxidant. That's the point of this talk. You need it. But you're maybe not getting the vitamin A if you can't convert it appropriately. So where do we find beta carotene? Anything that is colored like orange, gold, those are the things that have that have beta carotene in them. So egg yolks, butter, if you are getting grass-fed butter, so there's beta carotene actually in the grass. So if a cow is eating grass and then makes the milk that has been grass-fed, then it's naturally high in beta carotene. So the fake yellow color in conventionally produced butter is not actually going to be high in beta carotene. But then, of course, our other orange vegetables, so carrots, golden squash, yams, cantaloupe, peaches, all of those have a high amount of beta carotene. And then there are a few green guys that have some beta carotene too. So spinach and broccoli and actually tomatoes, which are red, those also all have high levels of beta carotene. So again, it's converted into vitamin A, but vitamin A itself actually does not have any antioxidant properties. It is an essential fat-soluble vitamin, so we need that, but it's not an antioxidant itself. So we need beta carotene as an antioxidant. And then I talked about selenium just a minute ago. So selenium is, and I might have misspoken and said that it's a mineral. It's not, it's a vitamin. So selenium is needed in, or it's gotten in Brazil nuts, yellowfin tuna, halibut, and sardines. So those are all great sources of selenium. And we need that to process antioxidants in the body. And also it's required for our thyroid function. So if you are, if you have any slowing of your thyroid, you are going to definitely want to be getting some selenium in your diet. Okay. So flavonoids and polyphenols. So these are chemical constituents of brightly colored fruits and vegetables. So they're a micronutrient, and we only get them from plant-based foods. So this is something we absolutely are not going to be getting from any animal proteins or fats. So they naturally occur in fruits, vegetables. We actually also get them in tea. So it's, again, plant-based, so tea leaves are from a plant. And also cocoa. So chocolate actually is antioxidant. Like I was saying earlier, you have to be really careful with sugar. So sugar, excess sugar causes something called glycation. And I'm not going to be talking about glycation very much in this talk today because I want to focus on some other things. But glycation is essentially when we have too much sugar in the body and it hooks up with some proteins and it makes this stiff wall. So, that stiffening is what causes problems. So you can actually think of stiffening like stiffening of your tissue. The last thing you want is stiffening of your tissue because that's what's going to lead to things like wrinkles on the outside. And then on the inside, things like your blood vessels not being flexible, which is going to lead to damage later on. So definitely sugar is a problem that can cause aging to increase in speed. But back to cocoa and chocolate, if you're getting a lovely 85, 90, I'm the crazy gal who can even eat 95% chocolate, that's going to be really high in the antioxidants, but you're not going to be getting that, the imbalance of adding that dump of sugar onto the process. So dark chocolate, cocoa, those are great antioxidants. So some great sources of polyphenols are black currants, plums, sweet cherries, apples, blackberries, strawberries, artichokes, spinach, hazelnuts, and pecans. You actually might have noticed that spinach is on every single list I've said so far. So it's one of those wonder foods that has a million great benefits to it. So flavonoids are compounds that make up groups of polyphenols, and they're the major source of polyphenols in our diet. So anthocyanins are abundant in flavonoids, and what you're looking for, so what you see on this picture here is red, purple, or blue is the color that we're looking for. And so you're going to get lots of those flavonoids in those foods with those colors. So, lots of berries. Berries are just super high in antioxidants. And despite being somewhat sweet, they're actually low in sugar. So berries are one of my top superfoods for anti-aging. Some other places where you can get these from food: kidney beans, black beans, pomegranates, oranges, figs, red onions, and sweet potatoes. Those are also really high in those anthocyanins. And so those guys really fight against free radical damage, and they limit cellular damage, which obviously the cells getting damaged is what makes us get older. If we all had, wonderful young newborn cells, then none of us would look any older. Okay. So I'm going to stop and take a sip of my tea, which is actually black tea, so very high in antioxidants. Although green tea is higher, but I get a stomachache from green tea, so I'm drinking black tea. Okay, so let's move on. We're going to talk about skin. So skin is our largest organ, and so that's often one of the first things that people think about when they think about aging, right? Honestly, that is one of the first things that I started to think about when I turned 40. I was like, okay, now I got the crow's feet, and I think I'm getting some weird little wrinkles here, and I got some cleavage wrinkles, what the heck is up with that? So I started noticing the outside first. But you can figure that if it's happening on the outside, it's happening on the inside too. So just because we put on lots of lotions, potions, and creams, that doesn't mean that we're actually stopping the aging process inside. So you can do all the chemical peels you want, and you might strip away every layer of your skin, and so you're going to look like a baby's butt on the outside, but you're not going to be any younger on the inside. And so that's what we're going to focus on, right? We want to do both. So most of us are in constant contact with environmental irritants that cause inflammation in the skin. So some things that people might notice in their skin: redness, swelling, burning, itching, again, wrinkling, getting a little crepey. So one of the best natural remedies for inflammation is ginger. Ginger improves circulation, which can lead to younger looking skin. So drinking ginger tea is one of my top favorite strategies because it helps with internal and external inflammation. So, I mentioned earlier, I work a lot with women's hormones and women's digestive struggles. And ginger is also great for both female hormones and digestive ailments, and it's great for your skin. So it's just like a super wonder food. So you can get ginger tea as a pre-made tea, but honestly, if you just get some fresh ginger, you're going to have a way more potent and powerful benefit. And It's actually one of these herbs that has been used for centuries in both traditional Chinese medicine and Ayurveda, which is traditional Indian medicine. So it has like a really super long history of being used around the world. So it's anti-inflammatory, helps digestion, and it's actually helpful for our overall immune system. So you're going to get sick less and feel better. And there's a component in ginger called gingerol, which helps protect against collagen breakdown. So when I was talking earlier about my crow's feet and the wrinkles in my cleavage, that is partly from a breakdown of collagen. And so, so gingerol actually helps prevent the breakdown of collagen, which is what we want, both outside and inside. So collagen is part of what makes up our internal skin as well. All right, so a really quick recipe for ginger tea. And so just to let you guys know really quick too, I'm gonna share some different recipes or strategies or videos that I think might be helpful to you, kind of as a corollary to this presentation, and I can't stick it all into one single talk here. So I'm gonna be putting links to this stuff in my private Facebook group. So I mentioned earlier, and I'll share the link again at the end on how you get into that group, but I'm gonna be sharing the links in that group. So if you want this, that's where it's gonna be. So a simple ginger tea recipe. So I mentioned getting fresh raw ginger. So it looks like that little root that you see pictured there. Most people are used to seeing fresh ginger. It just kind of looks like a little root you might have pulled out of the ground. And because you're going to be making a tea and straining it, you actually don't need to peel the ginger. So you just need a couple inches of the ginger root. You need a couple of cups of water and some honey to taste. I always like to get local raw honey. So raw is like a super, super critical part of that, because when you heat something, you kill all of the enzymes. And one of the things that keeps us looking young and fresh and feeling young and fresh and having great function in our bodies is enzymes. So not enough enzymes is a major problem with aging. And so you have all those enzymes present in the raw honey. So you want to make sure it's raw. And then if it's local, you get the added benefit of if you're somebody who tends to have seasonal allergies, then that the local honey can actually help to take those symptoms down a little bit. So, and then a little bit, optional, you can have some fresh lemon, which again, with citrus fruit, you're going to be getting a little boost of antioxidants. So to make the tea, you can either really, slice that ginger very thin, or you can shred it. But either way, what we're trying to do is just maximize the surface area, right? Because we're making a tea and we want to be able to get as much of that ginger out of the ginger root and into our tea. So one of those ways, and again, you do not have to peel it because we're just going to be steeping it and straining it. So you prepare your ginger. You boil it in your water for 10 to 20 minutes, depending on how strong you want it. Now, ginger is spicy. So if you're somebody who is very sensitive to spice or to hot things, I mean, that's why it has that benefit of on our vascular system, on helping to dilate our blood vessels. But if you're someone who's really sensitive to that spice, you definitely want to steep it for a little bit less time. And then you just take it off the heat, strain out the ginger and add some honey, and if you want some lemon or lime juice. And lime is actually very slightly sweeter than lemon juice. It just adds a whole different flavor. Ginger lemon is a really traditional flavor combination, but I love lime personally myself. It's one of my favorites. So it's a really simple tea that you can make. All right, so our number 2 strategy, we just talked all about food and things you can ingest. So our number 2 strategy is exercise. So again, lots of great scientific research on this. But studies have shown that regular vigorous exercise can actually slow down the aging process. I'm going to talk about, a lot of body stuff today, but honestly, this is the number 1 thing that you can do to improve your brain's aging as well. So, I definitely, as I see members of my family getting older and they have the CRS, the can't remember shit syndrome, I don't want that, and I don't want that for you. And exercise is going to improve your blood flow to your brain. And so I have kind of a side passion and interest about studying neuroscience and brain function. I'm just fascinated by the brain. And, the number 1 thing that you can do to keep your brain young is to get the blood pumping and the oxygen. So blood is carrying oxygen, right? That's why it keeps your brain young. So keeping that exercise going, and people who exercise throughout their lives stay mentally sharp for much longer. So 30 minutes of cardio 5 times per week And there's lots and lots of research to show that your biological aging is significantly slowed when you do that compared to people who are sedentary. And exercise is also linked to reducing inflammation and oxidative stress over time. So we go back to that oxidative stress damaging our DNA. We want to limit that, right? So doing exercise is really helpful. So what can you do? Running. Some people hate running. I actually love running when I'm in the zone. It takes me a while to like get off the couch and into my running every season because I live here in Colorado and it's snowy and I don't like to run in the snow. So every springtime, I'm like, all right, got to get going again. But if you like running, running's awesome. Even just walking quickly, especially if you walk somewhere there's hills or if you set up an incline on your treadmill. Swimming and cycling are all great cardio workouts. The other thing that you can do if you're going to do weightlifting, which is a great balance too, especially for women, women absolutely for bone health need to be doing resistance training, something that pulls on our bones regularly. And so working the larger muscles of the body can be really helpful. So pushing, pulling, squatting, working your glutes, working your thighs, those are big muscles. You get more bang for your buck when you are working those bigger muscle groups. And then of course your core as well. So those are all things that are going to be really powerful. Something else is as we age, we get less muscular elasticity. We also tend to lose speed and stability and strength and endurance. So all of those things decline as we get older, and we just associate those with aging, but they're also associated with just a lack of physical stamina. And so if you're doing things that increase your physical stamina, you're actually going to be keeping your body young and your brain young. Something that I love, my wonderful husband got me a gift certificate for a year of yoga at the beginning of this year because I had been just complaining for a long time because, sometimes you complain about things, about how much I miss yoga. So I think I complained for a good 2 months about how much I miss yoga, and I really actually truly was not hinting. And lo and behold, here comes Christmas morning, and my husband's like, you're going back to yoga. So I have a year of yoga, and I'm just like, been the best thing for me this year, getting back into yoga every single weekend. So yoga helps increase flexibility, and when you pair it with some other sort of muscle weight-bearing exercise or running, some other cardio, it helps to maintain muscle mass, and it does a lot for core strength to relieve back pain. So same thing, turned 40, and gosh, if it wasn't like, less than a month later, I threw out my back, and that's never happened to me before. That was the first time ever. And that really highlighted for me, like, okay, like I got to get that core strong. It's not about the back, and it's certainly not about laying around to heal my back. It's about, let me improve that core strength to make sure that I am supporting my back. So there's the yoga that we probably all know about, have heard about. Probably lots of people have taken a yoga class before that works our whole bodies. But there's actually also a kind of yoga that is called face yoga. And face yoga is targeted at improving facial muscles to help you look younger. So this is kind of a new thing that I've been playing around with, but it's super fun and exciting. And it can really improve the appearance of saggy or loose skin and help your skin look more uplifted. So, again, recognizing we all want to feel younger, but we also want to look younger too. And so facial yoga is a really cool way that you can do that. And so, you can do 20 or 30 minutes of face yoga, and you can look up before and after pictures, and you can see like a really big difference in people's facial structure when they're doing this facial yoga. And you can, of course, do it at your home. You don't need to be going to face yoga class or putting on any other, creams in your house. You can just do that. So I'm going to share a video for you again in my Facebook group about how you can, some specific techniques that you can do for facial yoga. Okay, so meditation. This is number 4. So I don't know if I was counting correctly. 3 was face yoga. 4 is meditation. Okay, so meditation is linked to stress relief. I don't think there's anybody that I've ever worked with, and I've worked with a lot of people, who I have not talked to about meditation. I think meditation is the secret tool for almost everything in your health. And I could talk about this for hours, right? I love it. And again, something that has like a ton of research behind it to back it up, which is super cool. So meditation, I love this. Meditation can impact our chromosomes and more specifically telomeres which are the protective ends of our chromosomes. So if you were to look at a chromosome under a microscope, there's these little end caps that are called telomeres. And when those telomeres get shortened, that's a sign of accelerated aging. So it's the last thing you want. Those guys start getting shorter and shorter, and you start turning into a little wizened old lady. So that's not what we want, right? But actually, there's been research showing that we can keep our telomeres longer with regular meditation. The other thing is focusing on the present moment, which is a huge part of meditation, has also been linked to longer telomeres. So super cool. And, the thing about yoga that I hear a lot is, or not yoga, sorry, meditation that I hear a lot is, people are like, I can never do that. I can't sit still for that long. My mind goes crazy. So if that's true for you, first of all, it isn't true that you need to just be, a yogi sitting on a mountaintop somewhere with a perfectly clear brain. So that is not what meditation is about. And meditation is more about learning how to interact with the thoughts that are coming into your head, not to stop having those thoughts altogether. So there's a whole bunch of styles of meditation, and you can just try them all and find out what works for you. And it may be that whatever you tried, if you've tried something before, just wasn't the right style. So I would encourage you to keep trying and checking that out. So some of the ones that, some of the styles that are out there that you might look up, heart rhythm meditation is one, and Kundalini. Kundalini is also a style of yoga, and those focus on the breath. There are also guided visualizations, and those kind of lead you as you're listening to visualize something and calm the brain as you focus on something on somebody's voice as they're guiding you, and that can really help to bring things down. Zazen is a traditional seated meditation. So usually that's something that, as you get more experience with meditation, that's what you try. It's not the very first thing that you go for. Gong meditation is awesome. I have actually only had the privilege of being in a couple of gong meditation classes, but it is super awesome. And it's really just the reverberation of the gong that gets people into a more meditative state, and it's actually called sound healing. So it's awesome. It's super fun, super cool if you can find a class like that around you. And then what I practice regularly myself is mindfulness meditation. And I've been practicing meditation myself for over 20 years at this point, which now that I'm 40, it's kind of crazy to say that, but it's over 20 years that I've been practicing meditation. And by far, my favorite meditation is mindfulness. Again, that is just for me. That's what works for me. You can pick whatever you find works for you. And my favorite mindfulness meditation app is actually called Headspace. So Headspace is amazing. One reason I love it is the guy who leads it has this awesome British accent, and he just guides you through this visualization, which is super cool. There's a ton of different packs where you can kind of just pick what you want to work on. Maybe you want to work on stress or anxiety. Maybe you want to work on pain relief. Maybe you want to work on kindness, love, happiness. There's just a meditation for everything. So I super, super love the Headspace app. I actually personally pay for a subscription now, but there is a 10-day free trial. And by the way, I'm not associated in any way with Headspace. I just really love their app. So go out and check it out. But you can do 10 meditations over 10 days, and they're each 10 minutes. Just as a way to dip your toe in and get started if you've never done any meditation before. So that's one of my top favorite things. And again, I will send a link to that. I'll put a link to that in my group. Okay, so massage. Who doesn't love massage, right? But you can actually do facial massage for younger looking skin. So this is why often when you leave a facial, your skin looks so radiant and soft and dewy. I mean, it's certainly some of the, the products that they might use on your skin, but a huge part of it is actually the massage component of that. And you can do a lot of the same techniques yourself at home. You don't actually have to just go and get a facial. If you do this regularly, and again, if you want to pair this with the facial yoga, you're going to see a lot of great benefits. So I'm certainly going to encourage you to get non-toxic products. We're not going to really be talking very much about, products today, but lots of people use really harsh chemicals on their skin in an attempt to look younger. And, kind of what I say about that is it might help you in the short term, but it's really not going to help you in the long term. So even if you are seeing some results because you peeled away a million layers of skin, or put on a bunch of chemicals that erase marks on your skin or something like that. If you're using harsh chemicals, that's actually going to be causing more oxidative stress and more damage over the long term. So you want to be careful about what you put on your skin. I'm just going to say that there's a great website called Skin Deep, and there's another app called Think Dirty. Actually, Skin Deep has an app as well. And you can just put in whatever facial products you're using and see if they are, what their safety rating is. So Skin Deep has a rating where you really want to be in the 1 to 2 range. You start going into 3, 4. It's it's color coded too. You start going into yellow, orange, and then there's certainly lots of products that are all in the red. So you're putting a burden on your skin at that point, but you're also putting a burden on your liver, which is going to your liver makes glutathione, which is the master antioxidant. So we talked about food antioxidants earlier. Glutathione is one that's in our own bodies that we make. It's the mother antioxidant. It's made in the liver. So if you are putting a lot of toxic chemicals on your skin and your liver has to detox those chemicals, you're going to be making less glutathione, which is ultimately one of the master antioxidants to keep you young. So that's all I'm going to say about skin products. So you're going to use some sort of natural oil or lubricant to help your fingers kind of glide across your skin. So what you want to do, and I'm gonna again, I'll post this in the group, but long diagonal strokes upward in line with cheekbones help to engage and tighten the muscles there. Light tapping will stimulate the lymphatic system and help to drain your skin of excess fluid so that you can reduce puffiness. So our lymphatic system is actually amazing. So our lymphatic system, we have a circulatory system, which is our blood, right? We have our nervous system, which is our nerves. And we actually have a lymphatic system, which is this kind of clear fluid. So you might have, felt when you were sick, you get the swollen neck. So those are your lymph nodes getting swollen. But our lymph carries white blood cells, and it carries away waste in the body. So it's a really important thing to have your lymph flowing freely throughout the body. But the lymph, unlike our circulatory system and our nervous system, does not have a pump. So our nervous system is, electrically stimulated. Our heart pumps our cardiovascular system. We do not have an external pump for our lymphatic system. So the biggest pump we actually have is our muscles. So I'm going to go back to exercise, right? Because that's going to be pumping your lymphatic system and helping to reduce puffiness and swelling that we might see on our faces, or even hands and feet and joints. But for your face, actually lightly tapping on your face is also going to be stimulating the lymphatic flow and helping to drain that excess fluid out of your face. Massaging the neck downward, not upward, will help to get rid of that excess fluid. So the lymphatic system actually drains over to your liver. So we want to keep things moving downwards towards the liver, not up and away. We want them going the right way they're supposed to. And then to reduce the appearance of bags under your eyes, you want to stroke from inside the eye socket outward. And so again, for the best results, you want to get a really high quality facial oil to apply during a facial massage. You don't want to be using weird chemicals that are going to actually be further causing oxidative stress. All right, so those were our top 5. And those are the ones I think are going to be most impactful for most people. But I'm going to give you a couple of little bonuses here as well. And these are things that absolutely impact our aging, but we don't think of them very often because we usually are thinking about things that we can directly do. And so these are a little bit more indirect, but they totally have an impact on our physical health. The first one is hobbies. I know so many women who are just busy all the time. And honestly, I am too. And I have to work so hard to find some downtime and find some time for hobbies. But you want to find things that keep your mind active, and that is going to be beneficial for your brain health. So again, if you're someone who is interested in keeping your brain young, especially people who have family members who have started to have brain problems or memory problems as they get older, having a hobby that keeps your brain engaged is a huge important factor in keeping yourself young. So anything that helps you connect with your inner child or helps you to de-stress can be considered anti-aging. Those are the hobbies we want. Physical movement, if you can include some physical movement in your hobby, you're obviously going to be getting those benefits of exercise that we talked about earlier. So things like dancing. I freaking love to dance, and I do not do that often enough. But cool things like a Zumba class could be great, or just heck, just go out dancing. It's a great excuse to go dancing. Hiking, golfing, gardening, all of those things allow us to actually be physical in our bodies. So we get those anti-aging properties from the exercise. And then also we're stimulating our brains, and we are staying happy and joyful, which is a huge part of keeping aging slowed down. So any method of de-stressing can help improve our longevity and help stop stress from turning into a physical ailment. And again, I could talk for hours about what stress does to our bodies, how it damages our bodies, how it leads to chronic disease. So it's a huge, important thing. It's not a nice to have, it's a have to have. And I think we tend to think of things like hobbies, like, oh, it's nice to have. Sorry, I got to take care of kids and job and husband and every other thing we have to do. But it really is powerful medicine for ourselves. So taking time to focus just on yourself can totally impact our chromosomes. So I keep mentioning our chromosomes and those telomeres, which are the protective ends of the chromosomes. So we are really actually talking cellular level where this can make a difference. So we can actually impact ourselves by having hobbies and things that keep us active, engaged, and unstressed. And then my last and favorite bonus is love. So it's really an overlooked tool for keeping us young and healthy. And I just briefly want to talk about, definitely loving others, but also self-love, loving yourself. That's all about acceptance, accepting yourself, and having a good, strong community. So there was some fascinating research that was done, I believe, in the 50s and 60s. So it was studying this population of Italian immigrants who had come over and settled in populations of pockets where they were just together with their Italian brethren, right? So people who had just come over and they were like in a little Italy. And these are people who were doing things that totally went against everything I've just said. They were smoking, they were drinking, they were sedentary, they were not taking great care of themselves, but what they had was community. And when those people lived together in community, despite drinking a bunch of red wine and smoking a bunch of cigarettes, they did not have the chronic health conditions that we see in our modern society. But what happened? They started to leave that community. They started to do what we all do. We see jobs, opportunities, other things in other places. The communities dispersed. And what happened was that the generations that left got the chronic illness. So those illnesses that we associate with all the things that I just talked about, with smoking and drinking and being sedentary and not exercising, eating a bunch of antioxidants. Now all of a sudden, it was like those people were susceptible. So they had that protective unit of love and community around them, and when they lost that, they became ill. So if you don't think that love and community can help you to stay young, you can just look at the research and it will. So find your tribe, find your friends. Don't forget about other humans that you can express love to and feel love from in your journey on being the top career and family and kids and all the rest of it. So don't forget about the power of community. And finding yourself surrounded by loved ones and things that bring you joy can really easily help you de-stress. Certainly we can see this with babies and we just forget that it happens to us too. But one reason, so even like it's the American Academy of Pediatrics says to have the baby in the room with you for the first 6 months of life, because the baby will sense the mother's breathing and will start to regulate its own breathing. The baby will sense the mother's heart rate and regulate its own heart rate. And this is actually protective against sudden infant death syndrome. So again, you start to think about the ways that we have ignored physiology, but physiologically we are built for connection. So find ways that you can be close to others, even cuddling a pet, actually. Certainly we want to have other humans, but even a pet can help our body release a hormone, which is called oxytocin. And oxytocin is a natural stress reliever. So go get your cuddle on, go get your love on, and that's going to help with your hormones actually as well. All right, so I'm just going to do a quick recap of our top 5 and our little bonus things of everything that is going to be in your master anti-aging plan. So remembering again that aging is caused by an accumulation of free radicals that causes oxidation. But most importantly, it's when our body does not have the ability to to neutralize that. So these are like little bombs going off all over inside of our bodies, and we totally have the ability to neutralize those. So we want to neutralize those damaging effects. So antioxidants can defend the body against free radical damage. Some antioxidants that are found only in food are vitamin E, beta-carotene, vitamin C. Flavonoids and polyphenols have really strong antioxidant properties that help prevent oxidative stress and, of course, then aging. And so those are going to be found, again, in our bright and darkly, richly hued fruits and vegetables. Ginger tea. Ginger is just one of my all-time favorite herbal remedies. It's actually a root, but it's considered an herbal remedy. Great for anti-aging because it helps to bring down inflammation. Exercise is going to help you to keep your oxidative stress low and to increase your brain function. Meditation is going to help you release stress and, again, improve brain function. And then massage, so you can actually physically impact your skin and your ability to drain that puffiness so that you can look and feel younger. And then my two bonuses are hobbies and love, which are super powerful tools against aging. All right, so that is it for my talk on anti-aging secrets. I hope that you got something from this, you learned something new. I certainly get a lot of gratification from sharing information and helping other people find great strategies. So if you want to join my Facebook group, so I mentioned a few times that I'm going to post some links and recipes to things that I mentioned in this discussion, and I would love to have you in my community. So it's just facebook.com/groups/holistic hormone balancing, or if you just put holistic hormone balancing into your search bar on Facebook, you'll find the group, and I would be thrilled to have you in the group. And I will be sharing lots more tips and tricks in the group on hormones and on anti-aging. So I hope this has been useful for you, and I will see you next time.